What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to be smashing another blue belt. Today's victim is Daniel. He's been training about 3 years, he's very technical, but keep in mind I do have a 30-pound weight advantage on him and I'm a black belt. We start off grip fighting. Daniel is being very defensive and backing away, but I do manage to get this shallow underhook on him. One thing I like to do with shallow underhooks is to circle towards the underhook and when my opponent steps, execute a knee tap. Daniel reaches under my neck for a guillotine, so I quickly switch to a double leg to make sure his legs are on the opposite side of my head when we land, which will make the guillotine very hard to finish. Daniel can only turn into me or away from me. I give him the space to turn away and he takes the bait. So I take advantage of it by taking his back and I try to get my hand underneath his neck as soon as possible. It's a lot easier to get underneath the neck during the transition rather than when you already have someone's back, but if you have their back already, then it's best to trap their arms like I'm doing now. Now that I have his arms trapped, I can work towards getting underneath his chin, but the problem is I'm not really good at using my left arm to choke people, so I switched to the armbar. I was trying to keep his arms from connecting to make it easier for me to go for the armbar without having to break any grips. I can sense Daniel's going to try to bridge into me, so I grab his leg to prevent him from being able to do that. When you grab the leg, it makes it harder for them to bridge into you, but also harder for you to break grips. Daniel is no longer trying to bridge into me, so I let go of his leg so I can use both arms to break his grip. I don't do anything special, I just unravel his arms like a puzzle to create a clear path for his arm to straighten. If you guys could let me know what belt level you are and how many days per week you train, that really helps me out at understanding my audience, so please leave me a comment. Alright, so we're back standing up, and the most important thing always is getting grips. So you can see Daniel backing away and then he shoots for this double, and I just hop all the way to the wall mats just so I can use that to stop him from taking me down. I go to push Daniel's head from the inside to the outside, but it looks like that was his plan anyways, which is a mistake because I love guillotines and generally your neck is safer on the inside rather than the outside. Daniel did a good job of tripoding up to relieve the pressure, but now the wall mats are in the way and I'm as deep as I need to be, and it's a quick finish. I was trying not to finish too quickly, that way you guys can get a better angle, but there is a guillotine later on that you see a really good angle of my arm positioning. So we're back to the grip fighting and Daniel is backing up. He is not really giving me much. I'm trying to move his head around, trying to get some sort of reaction from him, but he's not really biting. And at this point I'm just thinking, okay, I just want to get in there, let's go. So I use the wall mats to my advantage. I rush in with head on the inside single. I want to get Daniel's leg in between my legs, so I just start to step behind his leg and I just do a traditional head on the inside single finish by turning towards my head. I negate Daniel's frames by turning my back towards him and going for a back step. Instead of going to mount, I kind of put my right foot in between his legs, hoping that he'll try to catch it for like a quarter guard so I can go for a rolling back attack. But he doesn't take the bait, he doesn't clamp onto my leg, it kind of is just dangling there, not being controlled. You know, Daniel's rolled a lot with me, he can sense when a rolling back attack's coming, so I just switch to a chair sit back take when I feel his back is turned away from me. So now I start to work to trap Daniel's arms with my hooks using the Danaher system of trapping arms. With my underarm, I want to grab Daniel's top arm, and with my overarm, I want to grab Daniel's bottom arm. I thought I saw an opportunity to get underneath the neck, so I abandoned my grips, but it wasn't there, so I go back to the same system of attack. Generally, it's easier to trap people's top arms with our hooks, and now we can just control their other arm with our wrist. So now it's my one arm to attack versus Daniel's 0 arms to defend. I make it even worse for him by trapping his other arm with my hook, making it my 2 arms against his 0. After that beautiful finish, I tell Daniel that's for sure going on YouTube. This was at morning class. I rolled with 2 blue belts and told them whoever does worse against me is the one I'll use for YouTube. Daniel is a very dynamic grappler, meaning he moves around a lot. He doesn't just try to hold position and not get submitted, he tries to escape and win, which makes for a very fun and exciting role. I use my left arm to prevent Daniel from getting under my chin and tilt my head up for a duck under and establish the body lock, pulling Daniel down and establishing back control. Now, I want to do the same thing as before. You should always use that Danaher system. I think it's brilliant and I've been using it for years. So you can see from here, I work towards trapping his arms and using my underarm to grab his top arm and using my overarm to grab a hold of his bottom arm. And don't forget, trapping their top arm with our hook is a lot easier than trapping their bottom arm. I pass over his arm to my bottom arm and now I have one hand free against his 0 hands, and this is what I really like to do to get underneath the chin. I lift up their nose to get underneath the chin and I slide my hand underneath the neck. It's something I feel weird doing to people, but I also like submitting people, so I don't feel too weird. I definitely could have finished the rear naked choke right here, but I just did a rear naked choke, so I wanted to give you guys some variety, so I switched to the body lock. Daniel is smart though and directs where my legs are locked up to the mats. I want to have my lock in the air, not against the mats. He can ankle lock me from here if I'm not careful, so I try to roll through to belly down. I don't quite get there, but I do manage to bring him to the other side where my lock is up in the air and my leg is safe. Now from here, I just squeeze, and a really good tip is to not put all your energy into squeezing all at once, because people will try to wait you out. But if you slowly, progressively put on that pressure, your opponent isn't going to know where your limit is, and they're going to think it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And this is for any submission, not just body locks. Daniel shoots for this head on the inside single, but I counter by putting him in the front headlock position. And now it's a battle of who can move their hips to the outside. I need my hips further than his to be on my side for the guillotine, but Daniel wins this battle. No big deal, I switched to an arm out guillotine, and this one, with the grip I have, it's almost like a reverse rear naked choke. I still want to get on my side so I can better push his head into the choke. I made my grip more shallow with a finishing position similar to an anaconda choke. But it's still an arm out guillotine rather than an arm being in for an anaconda. There are a lot of ways to finish guillotines, a lot of variations, and what's mostly important is understanding the hard part and the soft part, just like I go over in that Darce video, so make sure you check it out, even if you don't want to learn Darces. So I have the shallow underhook again, and look what I do, I circle right to the knee tap, and as soon as we land, I want to connect my hips as soon as possible. I feel like I can isolate Daniel's arm for a kimura, since his elbow was a little far from his body. Daniel counters by hiding his wrist. Because Daniel's knees are pointed towards me, I'm able to hook his leg with my heel and enter into a rolling back attack. Rolling back attacks will likely be the next technique guide and include this entry. If anyone is wondering, the gym reopening went really well. After almost a year and a half of on and off lockdowns, Canada is finally allowing us to touch each other again, which is a huge relief and weight off my shoulders. So now we're right back into the arm trapping system using our legs. I hope at the very least from this video you'll have taken this technique away and start using it too. So look how I strip the grip Daniel's hand has on my wrist. I lift it up and grip it with my overarm. So now I use the same technique by lifting up on the nose with the hard part of my wrist so I can get underneath Daniel's chin. He's still giving me trouble, so I do it again. Notice how I subtly bring my elbow closer to Daniel's back. That's how we want to finish a one arm rear naked choke. The motion of bringing the elbow behind the back like a bow and arrow choke, except we don't actually bring it behind the back, just the motion. So I try to hip into Daniel's double leg, but Daniel does a good job of coming all the way around to a body lock. I feel like I'm losing this battle, so rather than try and fight and possibly end up in a bad position, I go to the ground on my own terms. Anytime I'm in this weird position, I just want to remind everyone how important it is to shower before class. So I'm just kind of hanging out here, kind of seeing what I can get, seeing if I can get an arm isolated away from his body so I can go for a triangle, and that's exactly what happens. I bring my leg over his shoulder and I start working to lock it up. Daniel does a good job of posturing up, so I grab his head to keep it down. And now once I have my shin, Daniel can't posture up. This is the grip you should take when you're going for a triangle. Just grab your shin and just wait until you get an opportunity to actually lock it up. Daniel tries to posture up, but because I have my shin keeping him down, only his butt is able to come up. Watch this shoulder walk. When people's heads are in front of their knees, it makes locking up triangles so much easier. The shoulder walk pulls people's heads in front of their knees. So does Daniel posturing his butt up and leaving his head behind. Daniel made it much easier for me, and I made it easier for me. Daniel should have stacked me instead. So I get this shallow underhook again, but this time I just switch to an arm drag. I start to lose it, so I just shoot for the double leg instead, but I'm kind of far away, so I reshoot by bringing my knee to the mat. And this is a really good guillotine counter. If you feel someone try to get underneath your chin, bring your shoulder to your chin right away, and then it'll hide that opening. If you watch my half guard passing video, you should be able to recognize this technique. I'm keeping Daniel's butterfly hook compressed and stepping over to mount. I use my elbow to help push Daniel's leg down to make it easier for me to bring my leg over. Now that I'm in mount, I try to keep Daniel's elbow raised so I can get an arm triangle. I lift up on the head to get my right arm deeper and bicep on the soft part of Daniel's neck. Daniel does a really good job of defending this arm triangle. Look how he uses his elbow on the top of my head to escape. First time doesn't work, but when he braces his arm with his other hand, he executes it perfectly. This is my go-to escape. I really wanted to get this arm triangle on video, so thanks Daniel for ruining my plans. So I just sit back to this triangle, and Daniel should have brought his other arm in. You can escape a triangle by pulling both arms out or putting both arms in. In this case, I don't think pulling his arm out was going to be an option, so putting the other arm in probably could have worked well for him. Daniel is keeping his shoulders separated from his neck by flaring his elbow. This makes locking up a triangle way harder, especially when you have short, thick legs like me. Like I say, being a black belt sure is great because I have options, so I go to this reverse triangle. We lock it up the same, except our lock is shifted 90 degrees so our knee points to and is close to the mat. I invert to make it easier to lock up and try to finish from mount, but Daniel taps before I get there. As always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Please leave a comment or fist bump if you did, and know that I appreciate it.